1. I'm 22, female, but this took place when I was 16 and a sophomore in high school. I was on my way to my third period bio class where, ironically, we have been discussing how smell spread differently in cold and hot air. To sum it up for memory, smell spreads faster at a greater distance in hot air due to molecules finding it easier to move about, kind of like how water molecules move faster when in a gas state, or something like that. Don't want to waste too much time on a science lecture. Speaking of gas, as I was shoving my way through the crowd, I felt a grand rumbling from within. I clenched up, hoping I could grin and bear it long enough to get to class and ask to use the bathroom. But just like a bunch of Jersey drivers, no one knew how to move, and I was stuck behind a small crowd of my classmates in the main hall, waiting to turn into the hallway where our class was. As we slowly shuffled through, the pressure kept building and building, to the point I knew the dam was about to burst. As I entered the class, I luckily was at the end of the tiny mob of classmates. When I entered, I unleashed the fury a foot away from the door. Thank God, this gutbuster was silent, came out like a rapid rush of hot, humid air. I shuffled to my seat in the back quickly. I thought it was done. I thought at most a straggler would be unfortunate to smell my gaseous-ass baby. But I was wrong. So wrong. You see, it was the middle of May, and it was getting hotter and hotter by the day. My school at the time had no AC, and it was like an inferno in class today. Not only that, but there was a large fan that had been plugged in by the door, angled right by anyone who entered the classroom, angled right at the blast zone. As we sat down, it had begun. A few people sniffed and recoiled in shock. Good God, what is that? Slowly more cries of despair followed as slowly the evil I had unleashed into the world spread across the whole classroom. And I mean the whole class. It eventually even reached my teacher at the front, and me and the two other classmates in the back. This room was not tiny. It was large and open as it doubled as a science lab. My God, that was a truly unholy smell. Like someone took a month-old roadkill off the side of the road and made a Taco Bell burrito, ate it, then took the mightiest of craps and left that to rot in the summer sun all day. I was so ashamed. I had just Dutch ovened my entire class, including myself. Oh, Heavenly Father, forgive me for what I have done. It was a symphony of gagging, frantic scrambling to open the windows and cries of, "Why?" I wanted to sink in my seat until I vanished. But I had to act calm, in hopes no one would turn and point me out for what I have done. Seems I have locked out, due to there being a whole mob of us entering the door. Anyone already in the room could not point out the culprit. Also, I was known to be a timid, shy girl, very polite, and I had the tendency to sputter out multiple sorries in succession, even when I did not cause any trouble. I wanted to fess up, but due to how badly I had been picked on in my early years, I kept my mouth shut. My high school years were the most fun I had in school for a long time, and I did not wish to tarnish that by being known as the girl who farted and stunk out the whole bloody class. My guilt only deepened when a fellow classmate had the blame thrown on him instead. He was a football player known to be a bit of a jerk who sometimes belched and farted in the middle of class. No one would put it past him to bust ass in class, then lie through his teeth. So as he sat there for once truly innocent, yet people glared and shunned him for the rest of the lesson. I am still shocked how no one even suspected me, and to this day, no one knows it had been me all along. 2. I'll start off by saying this was 1988. You know Mike Tyson, heavyweight champ, when he was in his prime? Los Angeles, California was rough in the early 90s. I was 19 years old at the time, and so was my friend Chris. We got invited one Saturday night to go and watch the Tyson fight at our friend Ralph's house, with the promise of booze. We said, oh hell yeah. I know what you're going to say, underage drinking, huh? Looking back, I would never have done this. Not. Anyways, he lived about 2 miles away from us. I did drive at the time, but I'm not going to get behind the wheel after I have drank, so Chris and I opted to take my bike. I had an old Huffy Cruiser. Chris was my friend, would go on the handlebars, and I would be the one pedaling, being that I was a little heavier than he. I know what you're thinking, and boy did we learn our lesson. Don't drink and ride a bike either. Well, an hour later, we were on our way. Being it's Los Angeles, I took one of my BB guns. You know, protection, I guess. My thinking was, well, at least it's not a real gun, right? Well, we get there, and we start drinking vodka and orange juice. The boxing match lasted only 91 seconds, so needless to say, most of the people went home early. And all this booze, I was scratching my head, wondering if my friend Chris and I could handle this situation. My friend Ralph says in a loud tone, "Now how do I get rid of this alcohol?" Chris says, "Let Oscar and me worry about that." We drank and drank and drank a lot, also ate some tacos. So after about 11 p.m., we have had enough. Thankfully, we said our goodbyes, and Chris and I walked out to the yard and started making our way back home. Now comes the part that always hurts me to talk about. By hurt, I really mean hurt. Don't know if you guys ever try to get your friend on the handlebars of a bike and then try to get on yourself. And then at the same time try to figure out how to pedal and steer, while you and your friend are totally wasted. Yeah, we would get about 10 yards every time we tried, and finally gave up and said, let's just walk it home. Okay, remember Los Angeles, California, almost midnight and 2 miles of gang-infested territory. Lo and behold, halfway we're still walking, wouldn't you know it? Here comes 5 youngsters our way. Chris is saying, "I guess this is it, old friend." I said, "Not if I can help it." They passed us just to see who they were dealing with. Me Mexican, Chris black. All of a sudden, one of them turns around and yells out, "Hey cuz, drop that bike." We turned around and start laughing. "What's so funny?" he says. Okay, remember the BB gun? Well, I walked up to that one and yelled and said, "Look man, I don't want any problems," as I lifted up my shirt and showed him my gun. BB gun. He fell to his knees and began to beg me not to kill him. Feeling like the Godfather at the time, I said, "Just get out of here." So they ran across the street to the corner and kept peeking to see which way we were gonna be going. By this time our drunkenness has just about gone, so I come up with an idea. So I say, "Chris, be ready to jump onto the handlebars." He said, "Oh shit." So we were about 50 yards away from our would-be attackers. I pulled out my wannabe 1911 handgun and said as loud as I could, "Hey punks," and let out a half a dozen BBs at the corner they were standing on. The sound of that BB gun was shameful. Psst, 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 psst. Chris was uncontrollably laughing. Then we heard, "It's a BB gun! Get him!" We hopped on that bike and laughed as we rode away. And they were giving chase. After about 2 blocks they finally gave up, thank God. Because we couldn't hold our liquor anymore and turned into an alley and started puking our brains out. Then we walked the rest of the way home saying, "Please don't kill me." Well, it's been about 15 years since I have told this story, and yes, we made it home safe. But for the next 10 years or so, Chris and I would just look at each other every time we got on a bike, and just started laughing. Thanks for listening. I'm 40 and live in Norfolk, England. On Saturday, England played Sweden. I took my daughter to town along with my brother Tom and my other half Daniel. The festival was on, we showed Daniel where the acts will play and did some shopping. We walked past the makeup shop and they were offering face painting. My daughter, being a daredevil, asked, "Can I have the England flag, please, Mummy?" Boiling hot, I sigh, "Of course, sweetheart." Daniel and Tommy, bored with shopping with us girls, decided to take all the bags to the car. I was left with £2 for the face painting. At this point the ladies were starting it. I say to Daniel, "Meet us back here." 10 minutes later, after Amber, being Amber, wanted glitter face, because 7-year-old girls? Of course this cost me more and find myself with no money. I said to the lady, hoping she didn't think we were going to do a runner, that they will be back in a moment. I would like to add they came back after 45 minutes. So without money and owing this lady £1, I made the mistake of looking around with my daughter. May I add, some women are not interested in makeup. Some do. I fall into the latter category. Add a child who also loves everything pretty, every man's worst nightmare. We were looking at the hair color, and feeling nostalgic, I told my daughter about the times I would dye my hair different colors. "I think I've been every color up there." "Hold on, I've never been yellow." "You fuck up number 1. "Oh, Mummy, I wouldn't do that." Oh, Amber, Mummy's done all the colors, this will look wonderful. Light Mummy's face like the sun. Okay, Mummy. Can we get face packs for the football? Sure, I'll get one as well. Amber picked up a nice mud pack. As for me, I went for a metallic blue pack. After a few more makeup choices, Daniel and Tommy come back. After paying the woman who was amused by Amber throwing a tantrum because she's too young to vote, yes, this girl is going places, we leave and head home. It was way too hot to be putting face packs on that afternoon. Amber decided to have hers on before bed. I decided to dye my hair, cue fuck up number 2. When it went on, I had to admit it was very dark. I reasoned it will lighten up once dry, so I turned to Daniel after drying. I asked, "How do I look?" He looked at me. Now the reaction I expected was, "Ooh, baby, it lightens your face beautifully." What I got was, "Oh, that's different." Eyes wide. "Is it nice?" "Yeah." Trying not to laugh in my face. At this point, Amber walks in. "Oh, Mummy, it looks too bright." Well, being a hormonal 40-year-old woman, dismissed my daughter's comment and thought, "I think you look magnificent." Yesterday I went to town. In town, I still thought I looked fantastic. The yellow hair had brightened me up, and I'm shining like the sun. Then out of nowhere, in a sweet way, my partner turns to me and announced, "It doesn't matter what others think, I'll walk holding your hand." Well, he abandoned that idea as soon as we stepped out of the car park. I was still oblivious to the fuck-up. I still think I look amazing. We get back home and had to go to our friends. We knock on the door and our friend answers. Good feeling gone. Our friend with the biggest belly laugh ever greeted us. Side note to men, when we ask how we look, please tell us the truth. Walking home. Why didn't you tell me it made me look like Wurzel Gummidge? A living scarecrow played by John Pertwee, who also played the third Doctor in the show Doctor Who. I just thought you was being brave. Huh? Today I've been upset due to stress during the day. In the evening I decided to put the face pack on. Relaxation and contemplation. This being during the France vs Belgium match. I didn't want to miss a moment. Cue fuck up number 3. I put this blue face pack on and it's like nail varnish blue in color. Like a lot of women, my eyes dilated and I was oohing and eyeing. So I turned to Daniel and said, "Look, it's so pretty." I even said, "Ooh." It is dyeing my hand, still no red flags. I carry on putting it on. I left at the time on the pack and then start to peel. I'm removing layers of blue face pack, skin and hair. It really hurt. To be honest, I should have put it on using a mirror. I step into the brightly lit bathroom and look in the mirror, only to be met with a hideous sight. My face is dyed blue. I'm looking in the mirror, and what was looking at me was yellow hair, I'm talking high-vis yellow, and blue face. I was a reinvention of death, as played by William Sadler in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, but more colourful. I've tried washing it. I'm still blue. So I call my sister Cheryl. "Cheryl, help!" "What have you done?" I shared a photo of my fuckery in all its glory. What do I do? Call the company, tell them it isn't good. I did, not much help. Let's just leave that there. Fuck up 4. I call my sister back and started to pace. I do this whenever there is a crisis. I just wander about, going into rooms, just pace. At this point I was just walking about aimlessly and walking into the spare room. I don't have curtains or nets in that window, and we mainly use the room for storage. I walk over to the window. Now the window faces a path that leads to the local park at the end of the road. So without thinking, I look out the window straight at a woman passing the house. She looks up and I look down. And this poor woman jumped for her life, in turn making me jump, which made her freak out and half walk and half run off. This caused me to scramble out the spare room and turn off the lights. At this point I have to confess, I've seen this woman before. A few months ago my cat was out fighting. Now I am a calm, reasonable woman. So I told him off, explaining that it isn't big and it isn't clever. The same woman was passing and was giggling. Needless to say, I felt like an asshat. I must add at this point my sister had abandoned me and was uncontrollably laughing. Thanks, sis. So if you hear a creepypasta about a blue and yellow woman wearing a colourful tablecloth in the window in the house at the end of the street, it's okay, it's just me. I'm gonna try a flannel on my face and try sandpaper or A&E. I just hope it goes and I've learned my lesson. I just pray it can come off or I'll have to wear a mask. The shame. 4. I'm scared to death of snakes, like run small children over to get away scared. I'm 6'5", 290 pounds, so it's a little embarrassing. When I was younger, my grandfather asked me to clean out the old shed, so he and my uncles could build a new one. My grandfather is the kind to make it seem like he's asking, but it's more of get it right or else kind of guy. So I go in, lean over to move the first box, and a snake slithers over my hand. I freak and turn around and run. Problem is, the door is forehead height. I'm flat on my back when I realize, oh shit, now there's a snake on my head. So I jump up to run again and hit the door frame with the top of my head. I come falling out of the shed, bleeding from 2 places on my head and hyperventilating. My sweetheart of a grandma came out and was like, "What happened, sweetie?" I said, "Grandpa made me clean out the shed and a snake touched me." She said, "Dave," not his real name, "why would you send him in there when you know there's snakes?" He said, "Well, I sure as hell ain't going in there." So 20 stitches later, I'm back in the shed cleaning it out. Just now with a headache. 5. I was on a party boat with my wife and friends. We were just on the lake, having a good time drinking, eating, and just hanging out. Well, about 10 beers in, the guys decide to jump off the top of the boat to see who can make the biggest splash. We're up there for about an hour when the ladies holler, "Come back down, it's time to go." I was the last one and decided I was going to make this one count, and run and put my feet on the handrail and jump and flip as high as I can. I misjudged how close I was after my flip, and went in with my head sideways. I go down and lose all sense of direction, or what's going on. For some reason I remember, follow the bubbles. I make it to the top of the water, see the boat and climb on. I'm sitting there with my wife talking and she yells, "Oh God, you're bleeding from your ear. Bad." Long story short, I get to the ER and I find out I ruptured my eardrum and have a minor concussion. So luckily, the only thing I had to do was use ear drops and keep it dry for a month. What sucked was we went to an amusement park the next day, and guess who couldn't ride rides or visit the water park? Yeah, me. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, Subscriber Edition. Number something something. I can't remember if I've actually done a subscribers only version before. And thank you very much to everybody who sent in stories for use in this video. If you have a story yourself, you can send it to kingofthecities@gmail.com. Email is in the description of every video. Sorry if my voice sounds a bit rougher than usual. I think I've got a little bit of a throat infection. I am going to have to wait a couple of weeks just to make sure it's not a viral thing. And if it's not gone in 2 weeks, I'm going to have to phone the doctor up and insist, politely, that they give me an antibiotic, because the last time I got this sick, which was about the same time last year, they kind of kept me waiting for a very long time, and I just got worse and worse before someone gave me an antibiotic. And I don't want that happening this year. So, but I'm still okay to record right now, so that's the main thing. And this, as you may have noticed the past couple of days, is the start of the 10 days of Halloween has begun. And I've got some things picked out for that. There'll be some short things like poems by Edgar Allan Poe, and some longer things. I'm hoping to do The Pit and the Pendulum at some point. But we'll see what I can come up with. I've got a few picked out to be recorded right now, and we'll see what else I come up with as time goes on. The embarrassing stories aren't back on the regular. They will be an occasional thing, and I'll be sourcing them all from subscriber submissions from now on. As much as I have enjoyed doing the embarrassing stories in the past, they were the poorest performing thing of all my regular series, not including the fictional stuff, but the poorest performing of all the regular series that I did. And Spinning Plates, which is what I replaced it with, they're doing about twice the views. They're much more popular. But as I say, we'll make it an occasional thing from time to time. A nice little bonus here and there. Okay, and with that I think I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.